Morning. Uh, yeah, it's Saturday this morning. I was, yeah, we're running into Christmas quickly now, and it's a poignant time of year. Um, Particularly for me, I lost my mother last Christmas, and I was speaking to another friend who lost his partner um, just shortly after Christmas last year, and I said to him, "Yeah, I'll keep you in my thoughts and my prayers," and I was sort of thinking about that, and I thought, well, a lot of people are going to think that's a bit weird for me because they probably think from seeing these that I'm a bit irreligious. But um, no, I think I do pray, um, and I think there's two important things here that was made um, pointed out to me by my sponsor in AA, and I've meditated for years. Um, I'm becoming better at it now, I think. Um, Praying, perhaps it's something I've only just come back to, but he said that like people really overthink this, and it's just two things. I mean, one is meditating is listening, and prayer is talking. And I think meditation is more important because when you speak, you're just repeating what's in your head, but when you meditate, and when you hear, you're learning something new, or you're reframing something anyway. And yeah, but anyway, leading on from that, like I say, people might think that I'm, sort of a bit, I don't know, a bit heathen. But no, I mean my morality um, is probably based on a belief in a higher power to an extent. I became aware of a higher power when I first started practicing yoga and yoga meditation back when I was a teenager. I've never had a problem with that. The labels you might put on it, no, that's a different kettle of fish. But having said that, again, a lot with my morality, my father was a communist, but he was a very, very moral man, and I respect his morality, and a lot of it is rubbed off on me. The apple don't fall far from the tree. Likewise, with my mum, who was a Christian socialist, but also, I spent crikey, more than half my adult life involved with Thailand and Thai Buddhists, and the whole Buddhist philosophy of loving kindness, do no harm, and the whole thing of metta, sending out loving kindness to the world, has affected me greatly. And also, in all my years of being in business, I've done a lot of business with Muslims, and some people may find their religion very rigid, but they have a good morality. It's maybe a bit strict for some people, but it's very decent. And all the Muslims that I've done business with and I've had any connections with have been very decent people, and that's and but it's like with anything, you have to be aware of false prophets. I believe that's said in the Bible, and yeah, I mean, yeah, there's some of the jihadists I find hard to stomach, but at the same time, some of the Christians, like some of the views that have been espoused, especially coming from America, I also find hard to stomach. Um, yeah, so and yeah, I mean, there's some pretty crazy things that the Buddhists are doing in Burma, so you know, no one's perfect, but a perfect is that a system of thought is only as good as the people thinking it, I guess. But that kind of leads me on to something else, which is that I was also thinking of, something which concerns me a little bit is, at the moment, a lot of people like myself who I think, I don't know, I'm probably, sort of a lot of a left wing, sort of spiritual, ecological aware, and, sort of green, you know, but liberal sort of mindset. You know, our whole whole sort of paradigm is under threat at the moment from, well, what's, recent events in America, some of the attitudes that have been sort of come to the fore again after Brexit, the fact that, we've got really now probably a very right-wing government, and we've got, we seem to have, we don't seem to have an effective opposition to it. I'm not having a pop at Jeremy Corbyn, but although he's very popular with the Labour Party, the Labour Party is not popular with the general and the public at large. And I'm, rapidly becoming a believer in the idea of a rainbow coalition. That we need to unite people. Well, for one thing, on a very practical level, I think that the Labour Party and the Lib Dems and the Scots Nationalists and the Welsh Nationalists and the Greens, we need to start thinking about an alliance with all those, because Labour ain't going to do it on their own anymore. They're dead in the water in Scotland. I'm not so sure about Wales. And there's a lot of people who are very disillusioned. And and then the other thing I'm very concerned about as well is there's a current of thought in Labour of sort of rather than engaging people in argument, just name calling. And I find this, and I'm going to sort of, and this is where I'm going to probably upset a few people and I can think of one guy in particular who's not going to be happy with what I'm saying, but I'll say it anyway. I'm very concerned about the whole idea of denying a platform for racists and fascists, or because if we can't have, like in student unions or whatever, allow people like UKIP, BNP, EDL to stand there and give their vile opinions, if our arguments aren't strong enough to make them look the ridiculous cretins that they are, we really need to be looking at our arguments. Now, that is not to say that I agree with them being allowed to associate and march through, sort of like areas. I disagree with that completely. But by denying them that platform, we're and just our only criticism is, oh, they're racist, they're this, they're that. We're not getting our message across. We're seriously not. And, it kind of reminds me of, one of the biggest, propaganda coups that the IRA and Sinn Féin had was when Thatcher's government in the 80s decided that they weren't going to give a platform for racists, for terrorists. And so you had this ridiculous situation where you had, sort of Jerry Adams on the TV, and you had, and because of this ban, the BBC got round it by having an actor's voice dubbing over it. Well, what, and we're if we're not careful with this thing about where we're not going to allow the people who we disagree with, we're not going to allow them to speak. Well, hang on, what's that saying? I'll repeat again. I would fight to keep those buggers off the streets with the last breath of my body, and I have done, as people who know me. I've spent the last 40 years doing it, but I will always argue with them. My God, I'll argue with them, and I'll make them look like the absolute idiots that they are. So on that point, I'll leave it, and hope you have a nice Saturday. Cheers.